Olivia from the upcoming. Such a pleasure to speak to you. Maybe you could begin with a brief introduction to the film, The Old Oak, and your roles within it.
Right, I play a character called Charlie, who is the oldest friend of TJ, the main character, I suppose. And I've lived in the town all my life, and he's a decent man, but things have happened to him, and it makes his life has become very, very difficult over the years. So he's put in a position that perhaps he makes decisions that he wouldn't have done at other times, shall we say.
So my character is Laura. She's a community activist, I guess. Has been probably working for years to try and stop the spiral of decline in her village, doing stuff for the kids, doing stuff for the community, etc., while trying to hold down a job in a family like so many of us do when we work in the community. And then when the Syrians arrive, she wants to make sure that they have as least worst time that they can when they arrive as well. So she kind of tours the line between the two communities in order to try and create a better space.
There always seems such urgency to Ken Loach's films, always tackling those issues that I think other filmmakers kind of shy away from. Were you already familiar with all his films, and what was it like working with him?
Yeah, well, I've been very familiar with his work. I actually auditioned for a Ken Loach film, my first one in 1989. So I've been trying to work with him for 30 years, and eventually I get the chance. And growing up, one of the most seminal moments of my life was seeing Kes. And I remember going to school the next day, and everybody was talking about it. As a piece of art, I think it's one of the most important pieces of art created in Britain in the 20th century. So, and after that, every time a film came out, I made a point of seeing it. And obviously, I was much younger then. And then when I moved into the profession myself, I've followed his work, the way he works. It's incredible to be able to work with him. It really is.
Yeah, of course, familiar with Ken's work, and The Wind That Shakes the Barley was a really important one for me, about organising against oppression. And when I first moved back to the North East, I lived away for a long time. It was around the time when I, Daniel Blake and Sorry We Missed You were coming out. And when I, Daniel Blake came out, I have to admit it took us a long time to watch it. At the time, I was supporting women who were being sexually exploited or being forced into sex work. And obviously, in the film, there's that theme, as well as that hold music from the DWP. And my day job was listening to that hold music. And so some of the films have been a bit close to home. It took us a while to watch it. And I'm really glad that the end of the trilogy in the Northeast is a story of hope and a fight back and solidarity, because there's that in our space as well, right? It isn't all grim.
And they were saying earlier, it's been a difficult film to make, and it is tackling difficult subject matter. Was there a particular moment on set that you found very challenging? On the flip side, something that was a highlight?
Well, not giving too much away, but the very last scene is, and because with Ken you don't know what you only know what you're doing on that day, and he shoots sequentially, so you find out the film as it happens. So the very last scene, it's the most incredible day I've ever spent on a film set.
Yeah, I think for me the most challenging part was during the audition process rather than filming, actually. Sitting outside waiting to go in. I think probably for my second audition, probably the day I met Trevor, we auditioned together. And there was a scene where people were having to use quite explicitly racist language. Number one, I'm an anti-racist activist. I have been all my adult life. Number two, my granddad's from India and has had that language used against him. So sitting outside, I just had this dread, like, am I going to be asked to do that? That was really challenging. Of course, my character's the flip side to that, and doing our damnness to change that narrative. So, yeah, that was probably the most challenging part. The most joyful part, the Miners' Gala. To be there with comrades, you weren't actually there,
no, I wasn't there.
With comrades who had shot the film with, in a joyful celebration, with that message on the banner, was really powerful. And just such a celebration of the message of the film, but such a celebration of all our achievements as well, because the majority of us weren't actors. And yeah, a celebration in the film and in real life.
And it does seem that with his films, there was a suggestion that, okay, you might not change the whole world, but you can change some people's minds, you can change hearts through cinema. And what do you hope the impact of this film will be? And that thread of hope in this day and age, things are so divisive. It just feels very vital right now.
I would hope, I don't know if you can change the world with art. You can only reflect what's happening. And I hope that people come and see that these towns are full of decent people who are trying to do the right thing. But if you treat decent people badly, it's very difficult for them to be decent. And I hope people take that away. If they only take one thing away, but also that there's hope. There is love and there is solidarity in these communities as well.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing is going to change the world overnight. We can only do our small bit, and I think this piece of cinema is definitely a small piece in that. I echo exactly what Trevor says, but also I want people to see that people who come to this country, for whatever reason, actually, for economic purposes, to flee war, to flee persecution, are human beings. We're only one step away from that. However comfortable people like think we are, we're not. Assad he still is the leader of the country and turned against his own people. Syrian refugees, migrants of all kinds are human beings who actually have a lot to contribute to our communities, to our country, who want to contribute to our communities and countries. And we should not be putting people in camps, we should not be putting people on barges, we should have people in communities where we can maybe act together, share our humanity and push back against some of the terrible things that are happening in our country at the moment.
Very well put. Thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed the premiere. Thank you.